Thank you for joining us today for the Ivanti demo webinar, Protect All Endpoints with Secure UEM Countermeasures. My name is Melissa Schaff, and I'm on the marketing team here at Ivanti, and it's my pleasure to welcome you today. Before we get started, we've got a couple of housekeeping items at the top here. You are going to see some related resources to today's demo below the speaker video. Feel free to look through those or download those at your leisure. They're all going to be related to today's topics and could be useful after today's demo. We're also going to keep this to about 30 minutes or less so we can get you on with your day and get you the information that you need. We are going to be doing a live Q&A session at the end of the demo. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen there, and we'll be sure to address those at the very end. And then finally, this demo is being recorded and it will be sent to you sometime later this week, so you can either revisit it or share with a colleague. We have two presenters today. We have James Saturnio, Technical Product Marketing Director here at Ivanti, and Charlie Rash, Senior Technical Product Marketing Manager. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Charlie to get us started.
Thank you. So as you can see today, the organizations in our everyday work area are deploying in greater quality and variety of our endpoints more than ever before. Employees today are on average using 2.5 devices for work. These include both corporate-owned and their personally owned employee-owned devices. So let's go ahead and take a poll here real quick. Here we're kind of curious what type of endpoints you are supporting at your organization. So go ahead and on the poll, please go ahead and select that all that apply. I'll give you 30 seconds. Go ahead and select. All right, let's go ahead and see our results. So it looks like the biggest ones are Android and Windows. So that's very common since Android's very currently the major operating system for mobile devices, and Windows currently is also the major version for most desktop PCs and enterprise. I'm glad to see that we're seeing some ChromeOS and some other rugged devices in play, and also iOS and iPads. So I'm surprised I haven't seen anyone doing some any Macs, especially with a lot of executives using Macs these days. So let's go on and move on. As many as you can see, that each of these endpoints you access in your corporate network presents an array of risks. For example, some endpoints are unknown to organizations, and organizations can't protect endpoints that they don't know about. In a similar vein, unmanaged devices are every bit as risky as unknown devices, as they leave critical decisions around configuration and updates to users who don't often have compliance at top of their mind. Beyond that, it's uncommon for employees' endpoints to contain unapproved apps or old or unsecured versions of operating systems and apps, to be missing patches and security updates, or to be misconfigured. Further, it's not uncommon for employees to be mistakenly assigned elevated privileges to allow them to intentionally or inadvertently perform unauthorized actions or view confidential data. Employees are also prone to performing other actions that they don't comply with organizational policies. Last but not least, to allow their devices to fall into wrong hands, whether through theft or simply by misplacing them. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it on to James here.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes those endpoint risks lead to endpoint attacks, and when they do, they create major headaches for IT teams responsible for maintaining their organization's uptime. And when IT professionals are asked what the most significant negative impacts they've experienced from endpoint attacks, loss of endpoint or end user productivity, system downtime, and loss of IT productivity are the most frequent answers given. And reputation and brand damage, theft of information assets, and business revenue impact are also among the most popular answers. And during this webinar, we'll be demonstrating how integrated tools from Ivanti minimize the security risks that stem from all sorts of endpoints. And specifically, we'll be showing you how Ivanti can help you discover unmanaged devices and reconcile gaps on unmanaged devices and allow you to gain real-time visibility into the state of your client systems and respond to operational and security issues with on-demand and self-healing automation, and allow you to better understand your employees' digital experience, which is integral but often overlooked part of the security strategy. And lastly, we'll quickly and easily prioritize and patch your riskiest endpoint vulnerabilities. And with that, we'll go ahead and start the demo.
Discovering and managing unmanaged devices is an important part of ensuring secure endpoints. Without a means to detect and identify those devices, organizations are exposed to increased security risk. By using Neuron's discovery and its connectors, it is possible to quickly identify all the devices that are accessing your services, allowing you to take remedial action when necessary. Once logged in, you can see here that the landing page provides several KPIs which are configurable based on you could change these based on your needs. You could also, here we have a device management section which will give you a list of view unseen devices, the number of unmanaged devices by percentage, and if they've been discovered, what data sources did they came from. As you can see here, we could actually click on any of these bars. So, for example, we'll click on unmanaged Windows devices, and we'll get a list of devices that have been seen but are considered unmanaged by Neurons. This will allow you to take action on these devices if necessary. In addition, we can see we have the highlights for the past 7 days on discovered devices. We can see devices that have been discovered by type, if they're mobile, virtual, or unknown. We have devices discovered by OS, for example, Windows, Androids, if it's a Mac or iPhone, and people discovered by department. We can click on any, as before, we can click on these to check to get a list of unknown devices, for example, here, and take action if necessary. Neuron's discovery provides the ability to find unmanaged devices on your network. You can configure discovery to actively ICMP scan specific IP ranges while using several different protocols to get an software and hardware inventory of those devices. In addition, the Neurons agent can monitor your network passively to discover and inventory devices that are not pingable by monitoring other network protocols like ARP. We can also configure a Neurons agent as an on-prem deployment representative to actively push and install Neurons agents on newly discovered unmanaged devices. Today's enterprises are now more than ever everywhere work-based. Your team is not only down the hall, but also spread around the globe. With our discovery connectors, we have the ability to find devices through not only your on-prem services, but also internet-based software as a service, SaaS, to find even more devices connecting to your enterprise. How do you find out where and what services these devices were discovered on? Built into Ivanti Neurons, we provide a smart advisor called Device Reconciliation. This smart advisor allows you to parse on how the device was discovered based on the on-prem and off-prem sources. This will allow you to easily parse through the discovery data and take action on unmanaged devices. In today's digital world, keeping endpoints secure is essential for any business. A diverse mix of endpoint devices can create a complex web of security risks that must be dealt with in order to protect data and processes. Fortunately, integrated tools such as Neurons Workspace, Edge Intelligence, and Neurons Bots allows organizations to gain real-time visibility into the state of their client systems and respond to operational and security issues with on-demand automation. As an integral piece of Ivanti Neurons platform, Ivanti Neurons for Edge Intelligence gives IT the ability to gather real-time insights from all devices using natural language processing. It provides operational awareness of inventory, health, and security configurations across the edge using a sensor-based architecture. The initial screen of Edge Intelligence provides you location information on where your devices are located. You can filter based on location by simply clicking on the country or by adding the county, state, or city name into the search to make it easier to pinpoint exactly where your devices are located. We can also search the inventory telemetry data collected from Neurons Discovery using natural language processing to find security, health, or inventory information. We can dive down into real-time quantitative data and alert and take qualitative actions before issues become a problem. Working in security, one of the biggest issues sometimes is when people with administrative rights to their computer turns off the antivirus for whatever reason and completely disable it. So what we could do is go ahead and check the status of the antivirus solver. So we could go ahead and either click on the pre-built query here, or we could go ahead and do a lateral language search, like here, show me the status of an antivirus software that I had done in my one of my previous searches. So I'll click on that, and we'll go ahead and start to fill out. One thing I could do also is go ahead and filter the results. So I could say in here, I could go add, I could say select which country I want to go ahead and put it in. I want to say I want to just take a look at the United States because that's the area I am managing. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the United States icon, selection there, hit OK, and go ahead and execute that query. Now we'll limit this graph into what devices are in the United States. Now, I'm not worried about the devices that have the antivirus on, so I could click that and just say I could filter out and just see what I want to see in the bar graph, in this graph. So as you can see here, we have the Windows Defender and we have two machines. So let's go ahead and figure that out and deep dive more into that information and get into the details. We can click there. We can see that two devices have their antivirus software disabled or turned off. Now, we can now run an alert to say, okay, based on these machines, I want to run an alert to notify, to go ahead and try to restart the service and alert me when the service has been disabled. So let's go ahead and enable alerting. So we have it in state and country. We're going to go add action. We're going to go ahead and start service. Now, you don't necessarily have to add an action, but this action I pre-built already to go ahead and restart the antivirus service. You could also set it up to reboot the computer or the PC later on, or go ahead and add more additional actions by clicking. There's a whole set of additional actions you could do by clicking on the add action in here. So now if the antivirus status has changed, we're going to go ahead and say go ahead and if it alerts, it will let me know which computers have changed their status to be disabled. It shouldn't fill up anything here, but when it does, it should give me an alert notification on this icon and actually start filling this area out. Next, we're going to go ahead and go over some more self-healing and some more automations. Ivanti Neurons Bots is a low-code, no-code automation tool which helps organizations self-heal devices, interact with users, and integrate between systems, turning tasks which typically takes days, hours, and minutes into seconds. These bots can be available to your IT analysts to take prepared diagnostic collections and troubleshooting actions. I want to go ahead and start off in our templates due to the fact that these are good examples of using our low-code, no-code process. So we have bots for preventive and reactive actions. So like, for example, we have issue prevention here. We got a whole bunch of bots for that. Like, for example, Microsoft Teams bots that actually interacts with the user for cleaning the desks. checking for invalid certificates, especially useful for security. Make sure we're not using any invalid certificates and any certificates that are valid for your enterprise. We also have some self-healing bots, which are some of the good ones we have for that is like antivirus compliance for security. We have surveys. You could create surveys later on based on the green survey to ask if for example, if users are having issues with all the security features that you're enabling. We have human-triggered bots. These are bots that are used in, for users to interact with, for example, or your IT security staff to enable or run while they're troubleshooting a user's PC. For example, cleaning like internet cache, uninstalling certain software, running quick network diagnostic, or you could do, software, or, for example, delete Outlook profile if it's having problems with the antivirus on that. We also have some other examples you could use to create using our low-code, no-code flow process. So, for example, here we have like our basic sentiment survey. We can display a message, which can come in handy. We got some PowerShell queries to query whatever, diagnostic information, or if you need to get some piece of information from the machine that the user is doing. Now let's go back and go ahead and just look at some of the bots that we already have created. One good one is like the CIS benchmark for Windows servers. In here, this bot actually goes in, and you can see in here that we use a flowchart system to go ahead and run these bots. And I'm going to go ahead and edit it, and you can see that each section has its own stage, and we could query, take action, query or take actions, and we can actually use those based on that to do custom actions, or we can only create our own stages if necessary. We can also define inputs and variables based on this bot, and as you can see, it follows a flowchart system, so that makes it easier for us to look at it, and I can expand out and make it easier to follow. So this requires very little code to do. So let's go ahead and take a look go back here. And just to let you know, this bot actually is designed to run on systems to either query and email you to let you know if they're meeting the compliance standards of the CISI benchmark for Windows Server, or you can actually have it run to go ahead and run it and have it run on a single target machine. So for example, on one of my machines, I could say in here to run behavior, I can only report, or I can also remediate. So it will actually change those registry settings to make sure this device is back in compliance, removing that drift if any of that drift configurations has changed. Very useful for that, especially on security-wise. When it comes to endpoints, organizations are often so focused on protecting them from outside threats that they forget about the user experience. It's easy to overlook the fact that employee experience is an integral part of any security strategy. If users don't have a good experience with their endpoint devices, they will be less likely to use that device in a way that it was intended, and more likely to take shortcuts or find workarounds that can put corporate data at risk. How do we calculate the user's digital experience? We take a broad range of quantitative telemetry indicators, as seen in this slide, and use Ivanti's proprietary AI algorithms and statistical models to give your IT staff a qualitative DEX score. On the landing page, you could view your organization's DEX score. Your organization DEX score is based on a combined device and user score to give you an overall digital user sentiment of your organization. DEX scores are scored from 0 to 100. If your DEX score is over 60, the score will be green for normal. If the score is between 41 to 60, this indicates caution and will be colored yellow. If the score is 40 or less, this indicates critical and will be colored in red. With this organization DEX score information, you could actually click on any of these bars to see the list of devices that are in critical, normal, or in caution. When navigating to the People's page, all discovered users are listed, providing user information including the user's DEX score. The user's DEX score is based on a combination of devices that the user has been seen to be logged onto. We can dive down deeper and view the telemetry indicators and their status, giving an overall understanding of the user's DEX score. When the neurons is configured with Ivanti neurons for ITSM, neurons can parse through incidents and pull data from tickets and use AI to modify the score. Again, we could dive deeper further down into each device to view the indicators of the DEX score of that device. We can view what is lowering and raising the DEX score for that specific device. This can provide actionable insights where you can instigate automated actions like creating an incident, executing scripts, install apps, reboots, or even run neuron bots to not only improve the DEX score, but also the user satisfaction due to reducing the amount of possible downtime in the user's productivity. This is why Neuron's digital experience is such an invaluable tool for organizations looking for a comprehensive protection of their endpoints. Neuron's DEX provides insight into how employees interact with their endpoint devices and equips organizations with information needed to proactively optimize user experience and sentiment. By measuring usage patterns, application performance, response times, and user feedback, and other key indicators, Neuron's DEX provides valuable insights into employees' digital experience.
Let's start out within the executive dashboard, which is intended primarily for the security team. The executive dashboard provides an overview of an organization's risk posture, which is great for the C-suite audience. One of the most powerful elements of the executive dashboard is the Ivanti RS3 widget. Ivanti RS3 is a proprietary scoring algorithm that provides a quantified view of an organization's risk profile. Like credit scores, the value of an Ivanti RS3 score falls in the range of 300 to 850, with higher scores indicating better overall security against cyber threats and exploits. And as shown here, this organization's Ivanti RS3 score is 491, putting it in the high risk range. Available filter overview widgets offer a glimpse into how particular threats manifest themselves in your environment. This widget here would allow executives to see how the efforts of the security analysts are helping the organization achieve its mandate of remediating all the vulnerabilities within the CISA Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, which lists the vulnerabilities exploited out in the wild. Scrolling down, here is the findings prioritization funnel, where in this environment, Ivanti neurons for RBVM narrowed down 14,700 total findings to just 493 that are associated with trending vulnerabilities and likely in need of immediate remediation. This reduction truly illustrates the overall value that Ivanti neurons for RBVM and ASOC deliver. The prioritization dashboard lets you quickly observe remediation progress and easily determine where efforts should be directed. The Open Findings funnel aids in prioritization of high-risk findings and uses one of the many visual queries in the UI that let users drill down for more detailed data. Let's drill down on the trending vulnerabilities, since these are the ones the hypothetical organization in this example wants remediated first because they are being exploited by bad actors out in the wild. This takes us to a list view with a filter applied so only findings associated with trending vulnerabilities are displayed. And from here, the SOC analyst has multiple options for pivoting to remediation. And the one we'll choose is to automate the handoff to the patch team. In order to do so, you simply select the findings and add them directly to an existing patch group or create a new patch group that gets added into Ivanti neurons for patch management. The CVEs associated with the selected findings will then be mapped to applicable patches for testing and deployment by patch admins. And with just a few clicks, we've passed some of the highest risk vulnerabilities in our environment to the IT team for remediation. Now inside Ivanti neurons for patch management, and specifically patch intelligence, where these selected CVEs are then mapped to applicable patches. And automating this task saves IT ops hours of effort every time the security team sends them a new batch of CVEs, driving down mean time to remediation. And to decrease remediation times even more, patches can be deployed autonomously to thousands of machines in minutes. When required, available intelligence can help patch admins perform risk assessments and how to proceed with remediation of vulnerabilities. A common risk rating system used across the products that comprise the risk-based solution plus shared intelligence on risk exposure and vulnerability exploitability enables patch admins to corroborate the criticality of vulnerabilities supplied by security. Additional intelligence on the reliability of patches in real-world environments save patch admins from wasting time testing unstable patches or causing unplanned downtime by deploying such patches. With this intelligence, they can instead inform their security counterparts when a patch is unreliable. The two groups can confer about next steps with a focus on keeping the organization both secure and productive. Now we'll go to the patch settings, where the patch admin can view and configure patch configurations and deployment schedules. And in this case, the patch group has already been made active and ready to go. Now we're going to move on to questions and answers.
Wonderful. Thank you, James and Charlie. We have had a few questions come in during the demo. So I'll get those started. The first one is, what does the Ivanti RS3 score indicate?
Hey, thanks, Melissa. I'll go ahead and take that. Think of the RS3 like your credit score, like we demoed earlier, with a range from 300 to 850, where the higher the score, the better your organization's cybersecurity posture. And the RS3 scoring methodology actually represents your organization's cybersecurity posture by quantifying risk posed by existing vulnerabilities and potential threats in your environment. And it considers 4 elements. The first is vulnerability risk rating, or VRR score, asset criticality. An example would be like a clinician's medical device is more critical in comparison to, say, a test server. Asset accessibility, whether it's internal or external, and Ivanti neurons for vulnerability knowledge base, or VulnKB as we call it, which is our threat engine, threat intelligence engine that ingests threat data from over 100 different sources. Sorry, long answer.
No, that's great. Thank you. The next question, I think it's actually our last question, unless we get any more in, is what type of discovery does Ivanti Neurons for Discovery perform?
I'll take that one, Melissa. There are 4 types. There's actually active, which pings out the devices and also does SNMP scanning. You could set it to based on a certain subnet or IP address range. We also have ARP. Passive, which he looks at ARP tables, which actually looks on the network subnet that we're working on. So one of our agents can actually say, hey, we're seeing machines that our IP address is showing up in our ARP table. We should probably add that to our list of machines to take a look at as undiscovered devices. The third one is also used through our connector. When we talk to our connector to like a SaaS or Active Directory, we actually parse through that data to see what machines are actually talking to those services, and actually add those into our unmanaged device list. And the last one is actually an add-on that is coming, you guys probably will have to talk about later, would be the service mapping. And that's part of we'll probably have a webinar on that later on.
Great. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, James and Charlie, for today's presentation, and thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our team. Again, we will be sending this recording to you later this week, where you can rewatch it, share with a colleague, or even request a personalized demo to fit your organization's needs. And with that, that concludes today's presentation. Thank you so much.